Afternoon in the Bronx following the Yankees 5-4 victory in the series opener last night. Today's game brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of the first inning. The beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, clean finish. Budweiser, it's what we do. The Yankees take the field here at Yankee Stadium. There is Rays manager Joe Maddon, his club 3 games back in the American League East with the best road record in all of baseball. The Rays batting order brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. The right fielder Ben Zobrist leads off, followed by all-star left fielder Carl Crawford. Another all-star Evan Longoria hits third. Carlos Pena in the cleanup spot. Then the DH Matt Joyce. Catcher John Jaso. Center fielder B.J. Upton hits 7th. Then shortstop Jason Bartlett. And the second baseman Reed Brignac as the Rays get set to face 33-year-old right-hander A.J. Burnett, who won his last start after losing his previous 5 decisions, a record of 7-7, 1-1 against the Rays this season. Here is A.J.'s sprint pitcher profile.
He has been better recently. No man is an island. Obviously, that's not how you spell island, surrounded by water, but island, E-I-L-A-N-D, is the pitching coach of the Yankees, surrounded by pitchers. And he says that A.J. Burnett has to stay close. That's the front shoulder. Even hitting instructor Kevin Long of the Yankees preaches keeping your shoulder closed. So a pitcher has to do the same thing virtually that a hitter does. It's stay closed and don't open up too quickly.
So A.J. Burnett getting set to face Joe Maddon's Rays for the 3rd time this season. Tim Howard Ford, keys to today's game.
Tampa Bay will try to bounce back like they have all season. You mentioned their road record, the best in baseball. And the Yankees will try to feed off last night's emotion. And boy, what an emotional night it was. Can't overplay that. An emotional weekend with Old Timers game today. Joe Girardi, a member of the Old Timers today.
Yankees never led last night until their final swing of the bat. Defensively for the Yankees, brought to you by Scott to the outfield from left to right, Gardner Granderson and last night's hero Nick Swisher. Teixeira at first, Cano at second, Jeter at short, A-Rod at third. And the battery of Burnett and Cervelli. Jorge Posada is the Yankees' designated hitter today.
And the Yankees, you know, I mean, they don't want to say that they don't want Posada catching A.J. Burnett, but they would prefer to have another catcher behind the plate. So you get Posada's bat in the game. Posada and Burnett had problems last year. They continue to have problems, even though the Yankees don't talk about it a lot. But anytime they can get Cervelli back there, they do it.
So Francisco Cervelli behind the plate this afternoon for Joe Girardi as Ben Zobrist steps in. The Rays right fielder to lead off against A.J. Burnett. Zobrist, a switch hitter, batting from the left side against the right-hander Burnett. And Zobrist takes a called strike, 0-1. Zobrist, Crawford, and Longoria for the Rays here in the top of the first inning. 1-1. Carl Crawford waiting on deck for the Rays, who won 12 of 14 prior to the All-Star break. Zobrist pops it up. Cano behind second. 1 away. So Zobrist is retired. DJ Rayburn, at 33 years of age, working home plate today. Marvin Hudson is the first base umpire. Jim Wolf at second, and the crew chief Darrell Cousins at third. Jim Wolf was the right field umpire at the All-Star game in Anaheim on Tuesday. Carl Crawford was there.
Starting left fielder. I mentioned that when you announced the lineup. Evan Longoria's first start as the third baseman for the American League. American League losing to the National League for the first time since 1996.
David Price of the Rays, the starting pitcher for the American League on Tuesday night. For Carl Crawford, his 4th All-Star appearance. He was the MVP in St. Louis last year.
Well, the business partners of most players are their hands. With Carl Crawford, his feet are his business partners and his hands. 31 stolen bases on the year, one of the top stolen base threats in either league.
Also batting .322 with an 8-game hitting streak. Burnett strikes him out here in the top of the first.
What was that? I'm sure Carl Crawford is asking himself that question. This is something that they haven't had. It looked like a splitter. It went down out of the strike zone to get Crawford. And that is a pitch that we mentioned Dave Island, the pitching coach of the Yankees. They've been working on that. That's a trick for the second half right there.
So with 2 away, here is Evan Longoria. Fouls off the first pitch from Burnett. 0-1. Longoria, as Tim mentioned, the starting third baseman at the All-Star game, which took place about 20 minutes from his childhood home in Downey, California. Longoria's third All-Star appearance. He leads the Rays and runs batted in with 62, 6th in the American League. Two outs, nobody on, top of the first inning of the Bronx. A 1-1 from A.J. Burnett, and a base hit into left field off the bat of Evan Longoria.
There's not a fastball in baseball that Evan Longoria can't turn on. He has one of the quickest bats in the American League. Fastball inside part, first base runner of the game.
So with Longoria on at first, here is Carlos Pena, who leads the Rays with 18 home runs, but check out that batting average, .201. And just 3 for 33 lifetime against A.J. Burnett. First pitch, right field, long run for Swisher, can't get to it. It rolls to the wall, Longoria rounding third. He will score, and the Rays take an early 1-0 lead.
The last question that we asked today of Joe Madden in our managers meeting was, what about Carlos Pena? And Madden said, we've got to get him going in the second half. Well, first pitch, as Kenny said, 3 for 33, first pitch, double the right center to put the Rays on the board.
Fifth run batted in for Carlos Pena. So after Burnett retired the first 2 Rays here in the first, Longoria single to left, and Carlos Pena doubled him home. Here's Matt Joyce, the Rays' designated hitter today. And he takes a called strike, 0-1. Joyce, a Tampa native in limited action this season, batting .175. From Burnett. Now 1-1.
Rays have not had a lot out of their designated hitter this year. Their DHs have hit .239. You may remember at the beginning of the year, and certainly Tampa Bay fans remember, Pat Burrell was the designated hitter. He was released on May 15th, a game that we did against Seattle, against the Rays, and now he's doing well with the Giants in San Francisco. Good fastball from Burnett. You see that late movement from A.J. Burnett. As far as stuff is concerned, it's the best stuff in the major leagues. Certainly the best curveball in the major leagues.
Two, fastball missing inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Good play by Cervelli to keep Pena from going to third base. That looked like the pitch that he struck Carl Crawford out on. Split finger fastball. I think that's what it is. Reason we didn't have it in the sprint profile, I didn't know he threw it. Richie Ashburn, one of the great figures in Philadelphia history, used to say on the air quite often, "You know, I'm honest to a fault." Michael Kay, speaking of announcers.
The recently engaged Michael Kay.
Yeah, I saw that. Isn't that nice?
Playoff pitch, broken bat. Jeter shielding the sun. Rays take an early lead here in the Bronx. A terrific season. 7-2, fifth in the league in both earned run average and opponent batting average. Here is Jeff's sprint pitcher profile.
Joe Girardi saying that the hitters for the Yankees see the thing that impressed them last year was that late movement. He's 6'9", so certainly he uses his height to his advantage. However, you can run on him.
Yankees, number 2, Derek Jeter. Number 2.
Bob Shepard worked his last game as public address announcer late in the 2007 season. But Derek Jeter requested that recording that you just heard over the PA be used every time he comes to bat here for the remainder of his Yankee career. We also heard the introduction of Derek Jeter by Bob Shepard at the All-Star game in Anaheim on Tuesday, 2 days after the legendary public address announcer passed away on Sunday.
What a life. Died at age 99 this past week.
Bounce to the third baseman Longoria, and Jeter is retired. Derek Jeter 0 for 5 in last night's game, including a strikeout in the 9th inning. Jeter will be followed in the Yankees batting order, brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun by Nick Swisher. Mark Teixeira hits third. A-Rod in the cleanup spot. Then Robinson Cano. Jorge Posada the DH. Center fielder Curtis Granderson bats 7th. Then the catcher Francisco Cervelli. And left fielder Brett Gardner will bat 9th. So here is last night's hero, Nick Swisher, who hit his 16th home run of the season. And then at the bottom of the 9th, his third career walk-off hit. Driving in Curtis Granderson with the game-winning run. And how fitting that a former Ohio State Buckeye was the hero for the Yankees. George Steinbrenner, of course, an Ohio native. Nice play by the first baseman Pena. The flip to Neiman for out number 2. And George Steinbrenner earned his master's in phys ed at Ohio State. He was also a graduate assistant under football coach Woody Hayes.
Well, Carlos Pena earned his master's in soft hands in the School of Hard Knocks of baseball. Former Gold Glover, and you just saw why. It's funny, Joe Madden, the manager of the Tampa Bay Rays, telling us that Evan Longoria and Reed Brignac are the best at throwing on the run of their infielders. And then he talked glowing reports defensively about Pena. And here they are, the first 2 outs recorded by those 2 in the game. Here's Longoria's play. This is not a routine play that he made on Derek Jeter.
So a terrific job here in the first inning by both corner infielders. And they also factored in the Tampa Bay run as Pena doubled in Longoria.
Yeah. Offense, defense for the corners of the Rays so far.
Rays employing the shift. And Teixeira takes ball 3, 3-0. From Neiman called strike. 3-1 with Alex Rodriguez waiting on deck.
Kenny, speaking of Ohio State, Mike Krukow of the San Francisco Giants calls this defense the wishbone offense.
Teixeira draws a walk. Mike Krukow, terrific pitcher in the major leagues, now in the booth with the San Francisco Giants. Defensively for the Rays, brought to you by Scott's. Crawford in left, Upton in center, Zobrist in right around the infield. We talked about the men on the corners, Pena and Longoria. Brignac in second, Bartlett at short, and John Jaso behind the plate, the battery of Neiman and Jaso. So a 2-out base runner for the Yankees as Alex Rodriguez steps in. A-Rod just 2 for his last 14. Comes to the plate with 597 career home runs. Neiman missing away with the fastball, 1-0.
Alex Rodriguez, the only American League player that did not get in among position players. There were several pitchers that didn't make it in the All-Star game.
On the ground to the shortstop, Bartlett. Gets the force at second. And 11 pitch first for Jeff Neiman. Terrific plays in the field. First Longoria to retire Jeter. And then Pena to retire Swisher. McCarver and Ken Rosenthal play baseball hot streak now at foxsports.com/fantasy. Win cash prizes. Get on a streak today. That's foxsports.com/fantasy. Yankees general manager Brian Cashman. You and I had a chance to chat with Brian earlier today.
Congratulating Brian on handling the passing of George Steinbrenner and Bob Shepard as well as they did last night. He said we try to do it right, and for the most part, they do it right.
John Jaso leading off for the Rays here in the top of the second inning against A.J. Burnett. Patch in memory of the longtime public address announcer Bob Shepard. And of course, George Steinbrenner above the interlocking NY logo. Yankees will wear both commemorative patches for the remainder of this 2010 season. To Jaso. Now 1-2. And how about the job Derek Jeter did yesterday handling his speech prior to last night's game with his usual class and dignity?
And aplomb, yes.
Jaso, right field, Swisher. Edge of the warning track, 1 out. During the 37 years under the leadership of George Steinbrenner, no Yankee has played more games or come up with more hits than their current captain.
Andy Pettit with the most wins and strikeouts. Andy Pettit going against David Price tomorrow afternoon.
Here's B.J. Upton with one away in the top of the second inning. Upton batting just .234, but is working on a 6-game hitting streak. Rays lead the Yankees 1-0. The 0-1 from Burnett, missing away with the fastball. 1-1. 7 for 7 as far as first pitch strikes from Burnett. And his record this season, 7-7. Jason Bartlett waiting on deck. High and tight, now 3-1. Here we heard Derek Jeter introduced by Bob Shepard. Public address announcer Paul Olden has returned to the microphone here at Yankee Stadium today in another touch of class. There were no public address announcements during the game last night.
Joe Girardi telling us before the game that it was very strange. You get so used to so many things at a ballpark, and your public address announcer certainly is one of them. And Paul doing a very, very good job, but very big shoes to fill in Bob Shepard.
Payoff pitch to Upton, to Scherer with Burnett racing over to first for out number 2. Bob Shepard worked his first game on April 17th, 1951, the home opener against the Red Sox. Called approximately 4,500 Yankee games, including 62 World Series games. An incredible run. Hall of Famer Carl Yastrzemski quoted as saying, "You are not in the big leagues until Bob Shepard announces your name." Tim, he announced your name for the first time during the 1964 World Series.
I met Bob briefly in the 1964 World Series as the breaking ball hits Jason Bartlett.
So Bartlett heads to first. These were the first lineups announced by Bob Shepard back on April 17th, 1951. It was Joe DiMaggio's final season, Mickey Mantle's rookie year. And the first name he announced was Red Sox center fielder Dom DiMaggio.
8 Hall of Famers, and really 9 Hall of Famers if you consider Jerry Coleman, who is in the Hall of Fame also. as an announcer.
Jerry Coleman is here today, along with a number of his teammates from the 1950 World Series squad, as Bartlett goes. The throw from Cervelli bounces away from Jeter into center field.
The last time the Rays faced the New York Yankees on May 19th, they stole 6 bases off A.J. Burnett. There are a lot of reasons for that. He has a long delivery. He's a tall guy, 6'3½", has a slow delivery to home plate, and his ball moves a lot. A catcher can't get a clean shot at it. So he has allowed 100 stolen bases over the last 3.5 years. And the Rays take advantage of stuff like that more than any other team.
Now Brignac with a drive deep right field. Swisher going back. He looks up. It is out of here. Home run number 3 on the season for the number 9 hitter in the Rays lineup, Reed Brignac. And Tampa Bay now leads 3-0.
A.J. Burnett has retired the first 2 batters to face him, and both the first and second. And then the Rays scored 1 in the first and 2 here after a careless hitting Jason Bartlett with the breaking ball. And then Reed Brignac on an inside fastball puts the Rays up by 3.
You saw David Price's reaction in the Rays dugout. So Brignac with a 2-run shot. He had been 0 for 7 lifetime against A.J. Burnett. And he gives Tampa Bay a 3-0 lead. And Zobrist takes ball 1. Zobrist popped out to the second baseman, Cano. His first time up.
David Price appears as happy as Brignac. And David's not even pitching today. We said David Price will be starting against Andy Pettitte tomorrow. But David and Brignac, very close friends, and he's as happy as Reed is.
Tomorrow's starters, David Price and Andy Pettitte. American League teammates on Tuesday night. Price, the starter, pitched 2 innings. Pettitte worked 1 inning in relief for the American League. The 1-2. Here's Burnett. Has some trouble scooping it up. And Zobrist beats the throw.
Now, he tried to barehand it, and A.J. really had a chance, I think, to glove it and make it the conventional way, but he tried to barehand it. And Zobrist running hard all the way, and that's why you run hard all the way. It will probably be an error, and is a 3rd error of the year. There's a guy who didn't make too many errors, and he's not making too many mistakes nowadays as an announcer for the New York Mets. And he'll be doing the TBS broadcast tomorrow. Ron Darling. What a good guy and a very, very good broadcaster.
Member of the Mets championship squad back in 1986. He'll be working tomorrow's game along with one of our colleagues, Dick Stockton.
Yeah.
Who was here at Yankee Stadium today as well. So after Burnett retired the first 2 in the inning, he hit Bartlett. Brignac took him deep for a 2-run shot. And then Burnett committing the error. There's Dick.
A great guy.
Pitch out. Zobrist not going anywhere.
That's the thing you do against the Rays. You pitch out a lot. You get a guy that you don't want to get behind like A.J. Burnett. You get him behind. And now the Rays, with the count in their favor, look for Zobrist to run. He has 19 stolen bases in 21 tries.
Rays lead the American League in stolen bases. And a drive off the bat of Crawford into the right field corner. Swisher makes the catch to retire the side. But the Rays extend their lead. Reed Brignac with a 2-run shot. His third of the season, 3-0 Tampa Bay. Rays with a run of the first, 2 in the second as Robinson Cano steps in against 7-game winner Jeff Neiman. Cano batting .335, 5th in the American League. Tied for the team lead in home runs with 17. Cano, Posada, and Granderson for the Yankees here in the second. Left field, Crawford going back, and it's off the wall. Extra bases for Robinson Cano. He is in at second with a stand-up double.
You know how much talent it takes to do that? At the very last minute, Robinson Cano, without using the lower part of his body, just flicked a double. A foot from going out. He's fooled on this pitch. That is a very difficult pitch to drive the other way by a left-handed batter, and Cano almost hit it out.
He hit one out last night in the 6th inning. In fact, Cano and Posada went back-to-back, and now Posada steps in with Cano in scoring position. And the Yankees trailing the Rays 3-0.
Robinson Cano drove in the only American League run on Tuesday night with a sacrifice fly against one of the toughest left-handers in the business, Han-Chi Kuo of the Dodgers.
After Kuo committed a throwing error earlier in the inning, the run was unearned. So Cano with a leadoff double here in the second. Posada hit his 10th of the season last night. And how about this note, Tim? Posada's home run last night, 253rd of his career, first ever on a 3-0 pitch.
We talked about Michael Kay earlier. I heard Michael Kay say that last night, and I'm thinking, my gosh, because he's been given the 3-0 hit sign often.
Two and one on Posada. We saw Michael Kay earlier. worked the old timers game along with John Sterling, the MCs on the field, the longtime voices of the Yankees, and Michael recently engaged. So congratulations to Michael and his fiancee Jody Applegate. Yep. Michael actually getting this game off.
That was Michael without the hat, by the way.
Yes. He's the only one in that shot in his row without a hat. The 64th Old Timers Day here at Yankee Stadium. Over 40 former players and coaches on hand. Posada down on strikes.
Boy, that is a wicked split finger fastball that is made tougher because of the size of Jeff Neiman. He's 6'9". We mentioned that. He weighs 260 pounds. 27 years old from Houston. He went to Rice University. So not only can he throw a splitter, but he's a smart guy. Got to be smart to go to Rice, Kenny.
He was a kinesiology major.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is the science of human movement.
Yep. And worked very hard on Pilates this past winter. Not only keeping his weight down, but keeping his balance intact.
As we welcome in Ken Rosenthal. Ken, Jeff Neiman has the best record in baseball, 16-4 since June 1st of last season.
That's right, Kenny. And to tell you more about his aptitude, he effectively added 3 pitches last season. A cutter, a split, and a 2-seam sinking fastball. It takes a lot of aptitude to do that. He's a guy who said he always had those pitches, but Tim, he didn't have the confidence to use them before.
No, not the confidence that he has to use them now. Particularly that splitter.
2-0 to Curtis Granderson. Ball 3. Jeff Neiman won 13 games last year, led all major league rookies in innings pitched. This season he's allowed 3 runs or fewer in all but 2 of his 18 starts.
Finished 4th in the Rookie of the Year voting in the American League to Andrew Bailey of Oakland.
Granderson draws a 1-out walk. So the Yankees now with runners on first and second and only 1 out. Fox Sports is proud to team with the Breast Cancer Research Foundation during our 2010 MLB on Fox season. The Breast Cancer Research Foundation helps fund the most advanced and promising breast cancer research. Join the fight by texting CURE to 27722 to donate $10 or visit bcrfcure.org. Messaging and data rates may apply. A visit from pitching coach Jim Hickey. You know, when we spoke with Joe Girardi earlier, asked him about Jeff Neiman, he felt Neiman was deserving of a spot in the All-Star game, but he pitched on Sunday, so he would have been ineligible to pitch in the All-Star game. But Girardi agrees that Neiman has had a terrific season.
Now the Yankees with a payroll of $206 million. Tampa Bay Rays with a payroll of $71.9 million. So Jim Hickey speaking with Jeff. Jim Hickey has done such a good job with this Tampa Bay Rays staff. He and Joe Madden, he and his staff miss nothing.
Here's Francisco Cervelli. You mentioned the payrolls of both the Yankees and the Rays. In 1973, George Steinbrenner bought the Yankees franchise for $8.7 million, $168,000 of his own money.
So $206 million offhands about 25 times that much. So 1 year's payroll is 25 times more than George Steinbrenner and his limited partners' purchase of the team. Try that on for size.
The Yankees now worth an estimated $1.6 billion. Billion.
With the B.
Yes. 2 on, 1 out. Cano the runner on second. Granderson over at first. And the 2-0 to Cervelli. Fastball missing high and tight. Now 3-0.
It's funny, in about almost 2 innings, we've talked about Joe Madden. Joe Madden lays it all out for you like he tries to do his players. He said sometimes Neiman will just lose it without any clue about why he does it. And then get it back together as quickly as he lost it. 17 balls and 9 strikes of the 26 total pitches so far, and he has a 3-0 lead.
The 3-1 to Cervelli. Neiman missing inside once again. Ball 4. He's walked 2 consecutive Yankees, and the bases are now loaded with only 1 out here in the bottom of the 2nd inning.
Every first pitch that Neiman has thrown has been a ball.
Wow. So with the bases loaded, here is the number 9 hitter, Brett Gardner. The Rays number 9 hitter, Reed Brignac, hit a 2-run homer in the top of this inning. Gardner with the bases loaded. He's the most patient hitter in all of baseball. Gardner faces the most pitches per plate appearance in the majors, and yet another first pitch ball. From Neiman, in for strike 1. Check out what the Yankees have done with the bases loaded this season. 9 grand slams.
That's 1 shy of a Yankee record. They had 10 grand slams back in 1987. 6 of those grand slams by Don Mattingly that year.
6 different Yankees have hit grand slam home runs this season. 1 and 2 on Gardner. Alex Rodriguez with 3 grand slams. Jorge Posada has 2. Brett Gardner has 1. In fact, Gardner hit a grand slam, and then the next day, an inside the park home run. Bases loaded, 1 out. Bottom of the 2nd inning with the Rays leading 3-0. 1-2 and a base hit into left center field. 2-run score, and the Yankees cut the Rays lead to 1. A 2-run single off the bat of Brett Gardner.
Now, one of the few guys he's been ahead of. So Neiman, the first pitch you may remember, the 9th hitter, he started off with a ball inside, then 2 strikes with fastballs, and then he tried the splitter. Hit sharply by Gardner, and now the Yankees are on the board.
So Gardner driving in Cano and Granderson. There's Dustin Mosley up and throwing in the Yankees pen.
Boy, that's odd.
With Derek Jeter at the plate, strike 1.
Well, you have to think with Dustin Mosley up and throwing that something happened to A.J. Burnett. Do not see him in the dugout.
Nothing at 2. So the 10th batter for the Yankees today. The first time Neiman threw a first pitch strike. And now he's ahead 0-2 with Cervelli on second, Gardner over at first.
Now Mosley sits down.
Waiting on deck. Yankees with 2 runs in the inning. 2 hits and 2 walks. Jeter down on strikes. Second strikeout of the inning for Neiman.
That's a splitter. You can see it going down, and normally the most effective splitter is the one thrown out of the strike zone. Now Fox sounds of the game. Derek Jeter thought he fouled it off, but I don't think he came close to it. I think the ball hit the ground. I think that's what Derek was telling home plate umpire DJ Rayburn.
We saw Chris Chambliss earlier, who took part in the Old Timers Day festivities. DJ Rayburn, the home plate umpire, born the day after the Chris Chambliss home run.
Oh, that's great.
To win the 1976 American League pennant for the Yankees. DJ born on October 13th, 1976.
That's wonderful.
Chambliss went deep on October 14th. The 33-year-old working behind the plate today here at Yankee Stadium.
Chris hit that home run off Mark Littell of Kansas City.
On the ground to the second baseman, Brignac. And that will do it for the Yankees in the second, but they score two. A look at Central Park will return after these messages from your local Fox station. Outside the bun. Back at Yankee Stadium, A.J. Burnett has returned to the mound for the top of the third inning. We saw Dustin Mosley up in the Yankees pen. And Burnett will face the heart of the Rays order: Longoria, Pena, and Joyce. Evan Longoria leading off. Singled in the first, came around to score on a Carlos Pena double. Burnett has allowed 3 runs over the first 2 innings. Saw his numbers over his last 2 starts. And Longoria is the second Ray hit by a pitch over the first 3 innings.
And the second Ray to be hit by a curveball. First was Jason Bartlett with 2 out and nobody on. That led to 2 runs. And now Evan Longoria on the breaking ball. Both pitches that hit Ray hitters, by the way, were curveballs.
So the leadoff man is on for the Rays here in the 3rd as Carlos Pena steps in. Doubled in a run his first time up. Burnett has now hit 12 batters this season, most in Major League Baseball. He hit 10 batters last year during his first season with the Yankees. So Longoria the runner on first as Burnett throws over.
Kenny, we did a game about 3 weeks ago where A.J. Burnett was experimenting. Dave Island, the pitching coach, was still had a family matter to which to attend. And A.J. even tried to move to the third base side of the pitching rubber. He's back to the first base side of the rubber now.
Just foul down the left field line. And for more on the Yankee starter, once again we head down to the field and Ken.
Guys, A.J. Burnett told me yesterday that he basically was listening to too many people. The acting pitching coach Mike Harkey and the 2 former catchers in the dugout, Joe Girardi and bench coach Tony Pena. A.J. said, hey, I've played 10 years and I've been .500 for a reason. I'm open to anything, but he's certainly glad to have Island back.
Well, we have to give A.J. a little more credit than he's given himself. He's actually 15 games over 500.
Right.
Pitch gets away from Cervelli. Longoria to second.
Now, you mentioned that he leads the league in hit by pitches, and he's closing in on the lead for wild pitches. That's his 9th of the year. Again, that's an idea of how much his stuff breaks. The curveball, as good as you're going to get, but it's so erratic. When it's erratic in the strike zone, that's a good thing. When it's erratic like the one you just saw, that's a bad thing.
He led the league in wild pitches last season with 17. 2-1 to Pena, missing low and inside. Now 3-1. Pena with a base hit. Rounding third is Longoria. Throw to the plate by Granderson. And the ball bounces away from Cervelli, so Longoria scores. And the Rays now lead the Yankees 4-2. Second RBI today for Carlos Pena.
And here comes Joe Girardi and trainer Gene Monahan. And this is not going to be counted as a visit because they think something's wrong with A.J. Burnett. In fact, they know something's wrong with it. That's a good play by Tom Foley, the third base coach, because he realized how far Granderson and how deep he was playing. And even though there was hesitation on Longoria's part, watch the hesitation. Stop. And now Foley waving him home. Knows the speed of the runner and the strength of the outfielder's arm, and that's going to be all for A.J. Burnett.
Burnett, he bounced back from his rough June with 2 pretty good starts. Today hit 2 batters, threw a wild pitch, committed an error, allowed a stolen base, and does not make it out of the 3rd inning. Top of the third inning, Joe Girardi went out to the mound with trainer Gene Monahan and pulled A.J. Burnett after facing two batters here in the top of the third inning.
Yeah, and A.J. Burnett didn't say anything. I thought initially he may have tried to talk him out of it, but it does not appear that that's the case.
So Burnett out, will be replaced by Dustin Mosley, who will make his third appearance with the Yankees this season. Spent the last 4 seasons with the Angels, started 12 games in AAA this season. As we check in once again with Ken.
Yes, Kenny, Dustin Mosley had been signed to a minor league contract, and he had an out in that contract on July 1st. If the Yankees had not promoted him, he could have gone to another team, and there were other teams interested in adding him to their rotation immediately. So the Yankees called him up, and they're using him in relief.
Well, Kenny had a pretty good month of June in the minor league, struck out 10 batters in back-to-back games, and was signed to a major league contract and added to the Yankees roster on July 2nd. So Mosley making his third appearance, facing Matt Joyce, who popped out to Derek Jeter his first time up. Carlos Pena on at first, nobody out, top of the third inning, with the Rays leading the Yankees 4-2. Fastball high and tight, 2-0.
Kenny, speaking of additions to the roster, Damaso Marte was put on the disabled list today before the game. And Boone Logan, another left-hander, was put on the roster. So Marte out, Logan in.
To Joyce, now 2-1. Burnett out about 18 hours after he used his right hand to pie Nick Swisher in the face following Swisher's heroics in the 9th inning last night. Swisher was taking part in the post-game interview when Burnett came around, and
I get your drift.
And a base hit into right field off the bat of Joyce, moving Pena to second. So the Rays now with runners on first and second with nobody out. Major League Baseball is proud to stand up to cancer. Visit standuptocancer.org to learn how you can help in the fight against cancer.
Sometimes that tomfoolery backfires on players. Your drift about who knows what may have happened. The pie in the face. You remember Arnold Bake McBride with the Cardinals, the right fielder? In 1973, he scored a game-winning run. And I went to shake his hand, and those were the first days, the early days of the high five or low five or whatever five. I stuck my hands out to give him the double-handed high five handshake. He jammed my right thumb. I missed 3 games as a result. Shaking hands. Now go figure that out.
I worked the game in Anaheim with Eric Karros earlier this season when Kendry Morales suffered a season-ending injury.
Yeah,
coming down at home plate.
Yeah.
1-1 to Jaso. Mostly missing low, 2-1.
Some major league players should temper their congratulations, perhaps. I think that's the point.
And many of those walk-off celebrations since the Morales injury have been tempered.
Yeah, that's right.
Mosley missing away, now 3-1. Pena on second, Joyce over at first. 3-1 to Jaso. On the ground to the second baseman, Cano. To Jeter for 1. Over to first, double play. Yankees turn the 4-6-3 Pena now on third.
Boy, that's nicely done. Good strong throw right there for Derek Jeter to handle. And a tough 4-6-3 double play on a ball that was not hit that hard is turned by the Yankees.
So with Pena taking his lead off third, B.J. Upton steps in. He grounded out to the first baseman, Teixeira. His first time up. Now 2 outs here in the top of the third inning as Mosley misses low and away, ball 1.
Shadows are creeping in front of home plate, and it should make it much more difficult to see. Bill Webb, our director of the All-Star game, had a great shot of Albert Pujols pointing to both eyes in the All-Star game and indicating how difficult it was to see in the early innings in Anaheim.
The shadows certainly seem to have an effect over the first 3 or 4 innings on Tuesday night.
Right. Of course, the way those guys were throwing could have been the best eyesight in the world, and I'm not too sure they would have done much. Starting with David Price, Ubaldo Jimenez of Colorado, followed by Josh Johnson. Whew.
Upton heads down to first, so the Rays have runners on the corners with 2 outs. Time for a DirecTV game break as we check in with Chris Rose. Chris?
All right, Kenny, first of 2 today in Cleveland between the Tigers and the Tribe. Justin Verlander, the All-Star, uncorks the wild one. Jason Nix scores. We're tied at 3, bottom of 7, same score. It's Trevor Crowe. Good job by you guys to start him today in your fantasy league. Indians take the first of 2, 4-3 the final. Remember to get every game in HD. It's 1-800-DIRECTV. Kenny, Tim?
Tim, you know, a much younger Chris Rose would love to have been sitting in the stands during a doubleheader in his hometown of Cleveland.
Hometown of Cleveland, and a fanatical Indians fan. Fanatical.
Chris here with us today at Yankee Stadium. First and third, 2 outs. Mosley missing low to Bartlett, ball 1.
Kenny, back in my younger days, they asked me what time they wanted the games to start in Cleveland. And I said, well, whenever I show up, that'll be good enough to go. It's about 3,000 of my closest friends usually watched.
And they actually played doubleheaders back then.
Yeah, right.
Here's Jeter. And that will do it for the Rays in the third. They add to their lead. It's now 4-2 Tampa Bay. the third inning. He will face Mark Teixeira, Alex Rodriguez, and Robinson Cano. Teixeira walked his first time up. Rays with a run in the first, 2 in the second, 1 in the third. 2-run home run in the second inning off the bat of Reed Brignac. As we take a look at the shift employed by the Rays defensively. Sean Rodriguez, the regular starting second baseman for the Rays, suffered a flood in his condo down in the Tampa area caused by the fire alarm sprinkler during the All-Star break. So Rodriguez got into New York late last night and did not start the game today. Neiman covering. And we spoke with Rays manager Joe Maddon about starting Brignac at second base for Rodriguez once again today, and his 2-run homer in the second.
Mistake once again. Although we had that plan that way from the beginning, Sean wasn't able to make it up yesterday because of the sprinkler system went off in his condo down in St. Petersburg, so he was unable to be here. But we had Reed scheduled all the time, and there was a nicely placed home run over the auxiliary scoreboard.
Joe, the thing you didn't predict, but you talked about, was the fact that Neiman sometimes would lose his control and inexplicably.
Yeah, and it happened the last inning right there. When he starts being up with his fastball, unable to get it down where he wants it, that's normally when it occurs, because most of the time he's in the bottom of the zone. But it happened last inning. But then the good aspect about the whole thing is that he normally settles in after that, and he can get on a nice little roll right now. Just keeping that tempo, keeping the ball down, not trying to overthrow his fastball. That's when he pitches his best.
Now, Joe, did you see anything wrong with A.J. Burnett?
No, I didn't. He was still throwing 92, 93, 94 on the gun. The thing with his curveball, twice he hit JB with the breaking ball, he hit Longo with the breaking ball, so must have had some impact there.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
You're welcome, guys.
Joe.
Have a good game.
Thank you.
All right.
Our thanks to Rays manager Joe Maddon as Alex Rodriguez grounds out to Longoria. And Tim, Joe mentioned both Bartlett and Longoria having been hit by pitches, and they would both come around to score runs.
Yep. Both on curveballs that appeared to have gotten away from A.J. Burnett. But they may have gotten away for a reason. Injury related.
Joe Maddon starter Jeff Neiman, after allowing 2 runs in the second inning, has retired the last 4 Yankee hitters. Top 4 in their batting order on 11 pitches as Robinson Cano takes strike 1. Cano doubled leading off the second, came around to score.
That's an interesting statistic right there. That is including Chase Utley, who has 918 base hits during that time.
So Cano closing in on 1,000. An all-star for the second time. You mentioned earlier, drove in the lone American League run on a sacrifice fly. Bounce foul to the right side. Count remains 0-2. Cano down on strikes on the splitter. Third strikeout by Neiman. A 9-pitch third as we take you through Times Square with the Rays leading the Yankees 4-2. Rosenthal. 4 runs on 5 hits for the Rays. 2 runs, 2 hits, 1 error for the Yankees. Dustin Mosley came on in relief of A.J. Burnett with nobody out in the 3rd inning. And now Mosley will face the number 9 hitter, Reed Brignac, who hit that 2-run homer off Burnett in the 2nd inning to give Tampa Bay a 3-0 lead. Steve Donahue, the assistant trainer, chatting with Joe Girardi. We assume about the situation involving A.J. Burnett, and we will talk to Joe at the end of the 4th inning. Saw pitching coach Dave Island to Joe's right. Mosley missing away, 1-2. Brignac will be followed by Zobrist and Crawford here in the top of the 4th inning. The Rays with a record of 54-35. Only the Yankees have won more games in all of baseball. Tampa Bay with 28 wins on the road. Best road record in Major League Baseball. The Rays occupied 1st place in the American League East for 59 consecutive days earlier this season. In fact, their 3-game deficit today is their biggest deficit in the division all season. They led the East by as many as 6 games back on May 23rd.
Yeah, the Yankees have the best record in baseball, as Kenny said, and then Tampa Bay. And then Boston is 4th behind Atlanta. Atlanta with the best record in the National League, having won 53 games in the National League East.
In Bobby Cox's final season as Braves manager. Cox, of course, had been the manager the last time the National League won an All-Star game back in 1996. And should the Braves get to the World Series, they would have home field advantage, thanks to the 3-1 National League win of the All-Star game on Tuesday night. And his catcher, Brian McCann, driving in all 3 National League runs.
That was a World Series in which the Atlanta Braves won the first 2 games in New York. And George Steinbrenner going in very nervous with Joe Torre. And Joe said, we'll go to Atlanta and win 3 down there and come back and clinch it in Game 6. What did they do? Exactly what Joe Torre said.
Charlie Hayes caught the final out of that World Series, and he was here today taking part in the Old Timers festivities. Brignac has really battled. He has faced 10 pitches from Mosley during this at-bat. Up the middle, base hit on pitch number 11 from Mosley. So a leadoff single here in the 4th. Time for another DirecTV game break with Chris Rose. Chris?
All right, Kenny. Phils were down on the north side of Chicago. 1-0 in the 9th. Placido Blanco, fresh off the DL, is going to try and tie it. Here's the throw, and Giovanni Soto drops it. So the Phillies tie it, and then Carlos Marmol uncorks a wild pitch on ball 4. That's right. Ross Gload scores what would be the winning run, a 4-spot in the 9th for the Phillies, and they take it home. Remember, every game in HD, it's 1-800-DIRECTV. Guys?
All right, thanks, Chris. Phillies started the day 5.5 out in the National League East. Behind those first-place Braves, Ben Zobrist reached on an error his last time up. The error committed by the Yankee starter, A.J. Burnett. Tried to barehand the ball and could not pick it up. Brignac takes his lead off first.
Philadelphia Phillies had lost the first 2 games to the Cubs at Wrigley Field. And we're trailing 1-0, as Chris Rose said. Mets losing a 1-0 game last night. And speaking of that, the Phillies will be on our agenda next week. Colorado will be at Philadelphia, White Sox at Oakland, or the Mets at the Dodgers.
Check local listings for the game in your area. Mosley missing away, now 2-0. Now 3-0 to Zobrist.
Kenny, we were talking about Joe Torre, and earlier we were talking also about how the Yankees have handled everything so well, and they do that, such a rich tradition with 27 world championships. But the one thing they have bungled, in my opinion, is the handling of Joe Torre. 12 years in a row in postseason, 4 of those as world champions. And to me, it's a case of corporate childishness on the part of the Yankees, the way they have treated Torre since he has left.
You would hope that with the passing of time, the situation will rectify itself. Joe, of course, now the manager of the Dodgers, and the Yankees played in Los Angeles a couple of weeks back. And Brignac goes. It's ball 4, so Zobrist heads down to first.
Yeah, you remember some of those despotic leaders in World War II, primarily of Russia and Germany, where they used to take those pictures that they had taken formerly with generals who were no longer alive. They had shot them. That they would airbrush the pictures and airbrush the generals out of the pictures. And in a sense, that's what the Yankees have done with Joe Torre. They've airbrushed his legacy. I mean, there's no sign of Joe Torre in the stadium, and that's ridiculous. I don't understand it.
General Manager Brian Cashman quoted as saying when the Yankees were in Los Angeles that he has not spoken to Joe Torre since that final meeting.
Yep. The meeting in Tampa.
Of course, Joe did write a book, which may have angered some folks within the Yankee organization.
Yep. But that came out the next year, the following year.
Of course, throughout this past week, following the passing of George Steinbrenner on Tuesday, so many former Yankees and baseball figures reminisced about their relationships, and the great Yogi Berra went 14 years without speaking to George Steinbrenner, without coming to Yankee Stadium after he was fired as manager in the mid-'80s. They finally got together with one another in 1999, and we send our best to Yogi and the entire Berra family. He was not on hand today for Old Timers Day. His family released a statement. Yogi fell down last night near his house in Montclair, New Jersey, and suffered some bruises. He is now recovering at home. He is extremely disappointed that he is unable to participate in today's Old Timer ceremonies and unable to see so many of his friends. He appreciates all the well wishes and hopes to be up and about very, very soon. So, Yogi, we look forward to seeing you here at Yankee Stadium.
But as far as today's concerned, just kick back with Carmen and enjoy the telecast. Wouldn't you know it, with one of life's charmed people, Yogi Berra.
2-2 Crawford fouled off to the right side. Yogi, a member of that 1950 squad that was honored during Old Timers Day today. Many of his former teammates on hand.
They had Yogi Berra Day here at Yankee Stadium. It will be 11 years tomorrow, and on that day, David Cohn pitches a perfect game on Yogi Berra Day with Don Larson and Yogi Berra in the ballpark, in the old Yankee Stadium, of course, just down the block.
both Don Larson and David Cohn are here today, and we're in uniform during the Old Timers Day festivities.
Yeah.
Pitch to Crawford. He is down on strikes. First strikeout for Dustin Mosley.
Boy, that is a good breaking ball and a fastball count to get Crawford. We referenced David Cohn. His perfect game will be the 11th anniversary will be tomorrow. Don Mattingly today, back in 1987, hit a home run in 7 straight games. And the great Joe DiMaggio, his 56-game hitting streak was stopped. Stopped in 1941. The 2 great plays by Ken Keltner in Municipal Stadium in Cleveland. And Chris Rose was not there.
Not yet.
Those 2 pitchers, by the way, that stopped DiMaggio, Al Smith and Jim Bagby. You know who was there? Jack Buck was at the game that day. I remember working a game, 20 years ago with Jack, and we had Ken Keltner on as a guest in Milwaukee. And he interviewed Ken and talked to him throughout the game, not throughout a couple of innings, about the great plays he made to prevent DiMaggio from hitting in 57 in a row.
Was Jack working that game?
No. No, he was just growing up in Cleveland. He went as a teenager.
Wow. Here's the 1-2 on the ground to Rodriguez. Applies the tag. Throws across. He at least attempted to apply the tag to Brignac. So he gets Longoria at first for the second out.
Good try by A-Rod and good base running by Brignac. I think A-Rod was questioning third base umpire Darrell Cousins, saying, wasn't he out of the baseline? No.
So Brignac now at third. Zobrist on at second with 2 outs as Carlos Pena steps in. Pena has driven in a couple of runs. 2 for 2 off Burnett after coming into the game. 3 for 33 lifetime against the Yankee starter. And Pena was the last batter Burnett faced back in the 3rd inning. They're getting back to Joe Torre for a second. There's no question in my mind that someday, not sure when that day will be, that he will have a plaque out in Monument Park. Someday.
And the number 6 will be retired. Now, to the Yankees' credit, number 6, Joe Torre's number, has not been worn since Torre has not managed. That was 2.5 years ago. His 3rd year with the Dodgers. That has got to be resolved. I mean, you just can't ignore a guy who did what Joe Torre did. Yep, number 6 would fit nicely between 5 and 7. Joe and Mickey.
Led the Yankees to 4 World Series titles
in 5 years.
1-2 now on Pena. 96, 98, 99, and again in 2000. Yankees won the World Series last year under Joe Girardi, their first title in 9 seasons. And they have the best record in baseball here in 2010. Trail this game 4-2, 2 outs, top of the 4th inning. Runners on second and third for the Rays. A 1-2 from Mosley. Pena held up, now 2-2. Cervelli out for a chat with Mosley. Dustin Mosley making only his third appearance with the Yankees. Here's pitching coach Dave Island. 3 of his starters with at least 11 wins at the All-Star break. Sabathia, Hughes, and Pettit.
All All-Stars.
Hughes took the loss in the All-Star game because the third of an inning allowed 2 singles and 2 runs. There's CC Sabathia, who has won his last 8 decisions. Not involved in the decision last night. Ball 3 to Carlos Pena.
Clearly missing inside. Tried to tail that fastball back on the inside corner to get Pena.
Payoff pitch from Mosley. On the ground to the right side. Teixeira takes it to the bag himself. So after the Rays had 2 on with nobody out, Mosley retires the next 3. It's the first inning in which the Rays do not score. Refresh Grant. Vote for your team's idea at PepsiRefresh.MLB.com. Tampa Bay Rays lead the New York Yankees 4-2. Bottom of the 4th inning here at Yankee Stadium. Jeff Neiman has retired the last 5 Yankees he has faced. Here is Jorge Posada, who struck out his first time up. First time Bob Shepard announced Jorge Posada's name during the 1995 Division Series. Posada came in to pinch run for Wade Boggs. And in a rare gaffe, Shepard pronounced Jorge's last name Posado instead of Posada. And from that day on, Derek Jeter and many of his other teammates have referred to Posada as Sato. Jeter and Posada, very good friends.
In fact, Derek Jeter was the best man in Jorge's wedding. Jorge was married, I think 11 years ago or so.
You know how nicknames are with players, though.
Oh, yeah.
They stick.
They do indeed.
1-2, and Sato is called out on strikes. Fourth strikeout for Jeff Neiman. How much money Bob Shepard made per game during his first season back in 1951? $15 a game. $17.50 for a doubleheader.
Well, 10 years later, in 1961, I had a blank. Who was the announcer? The announcer of the news that was hired by Dan Rather was hired as a public address announcer in Houston for the new Colt 45s and made $10 a game. So Bob Shepard made New York money 10 years before Dan Rather. 10 years later,
Dan Rather made
fewer
dollars per game.
Pardon me, I couldn't think of Dan Rather's last name.
It's a good thing you didn't have to announce it over the PA.
That's right.
1-1 to Granderson.
He was hired, by the way, Dan Rather was, by Bill Giles, the new sales manager of the Astros, promotional manager, in 1962 when Houston played their first game in the Astrodome. And Dan, I beg your pardon, they were in Colt 45 Stadium there for a couple of years. And Dan Rather was the public address announcer hired by Bill Giles, who's now retired as the owner of the Phillies.
$10 a game back in 61.
$10 a game, that's right. Dan, of course, did a little better later on in his career.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Granderson fouls it off to the left side.
Famous world news announcer with CBS for eons.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Cervelli waiting on deck. Granderson walked and scored his first time up. In the dirt, full count. A gentleman by the name of Red Patterson preceded Bob Shepard as public address announcer at Yankee Stadium. He was also the club's PR director.
Red used to be with the Dodgers, too, in fact.
Forget about Wally Pipp. Bob Shepard replaces Red Patterson in the last 57 years.
That's a legitimate Pipp. Wally Pipp, the first baseman, before Lou Gehrig played his first of a few in a row. Surpassed by Cal Ripken, of course. And that's a record that will never be broken.
Granderson down on strikes. Third consecutive strikeout for Jeff Neiman. He's retired 7 Yankees in a row. Well, statistician Marty Aronoff telling us that Red Patterson started the concept of the tape measure home run with Mickey Mantle's 565-foot shot in Griffith Stadium. Red Patterson actually came up with the term tape measure home run as Cervelli singles into left field. Third hit of the game for the Yankees. Cervelli on base for the second time.
I guess while we're on it, John Forsythe was the announcer for the Brooklyn Dodgers back in 1936. John Forsythe, the famous actor that lived into his 90s, I believe, died within the last decade or so.
1936, also the first time that Yankee Stadium installed a public address system during the 1936 World Series. They were the last ballpark at the time to install a PA system. They used a megaphone prior to the 36 World Series. Here's Brett Gardner with 2 outs and Cervelli on at first. Imagine trying to reach thousands and thousands of fans all around the stadium with a megaphone.
Well, 2 years earlier in 1934, Ducky Medwick was kicked out of Game 7 by Kennesaw Mountain Landis, and I guess they had to use a megaphone to announce that the fans in left field were throwing things at Medwick. And that was a game won handily by the Cardinals and Dizzy Dean. I think it was 11-0.
0-2 on Gardner. Coming up, we'll chat with Yankees skipper Joe Girardi. We'll ask him about the condition of A.J. Burnett, who was taken out of the game after allowing a couple of base runners in the third inning without retiring the Tampa Bay Ray. No 2 from Neiman. Now 1 ball, 2 strikes. No fly ball outs for Neiman. 6 ground outs, 5 strikeouts. Allowed 2 runs back in the second inning, pitching with a 4-2 lead. Cervelli goes, the 1-2 to Gardner. Throw from Jaso is not in time, and Francisco Cervelli has his first stolen base of the season.
Heads up base running by Cervelli as Neiman, we talked about it in our scouting report, that because of the height of Jeff Neiman, he's 6'9". Takes a long time to unravel, and Cervelli taking advantage of that and has his first stolen base of the year.
And of his major league career.
All right. Love catchers that run.
How about Benji Molina last night? Cycle.
Unbelievable, and had to be taken out of the game because of a slight fly. Benji Molina, one of the slower players in the major leagues. I think the triple was his 4th hit, right?
It was.
And Texas won again. Tough team.
Cervelli the runner on second, 2 outs, bottom of the 4th inning. Payoff pitch to Gardner, who has driven in both Yankee runs, and he works out a walk. So 2 on and 2 outs. Here is Derek Jeter, 0 for 2 today, 0 for 7 in this series. Those pitch on 1 hop. Brilliant to Pena, and the Yankees scram 2 in the 4th. Coming up, we'll chat with Yankees skipper Joe Girardi. ball. Chris Rose here as well. Rays lead the Yankees 4-2. Top of the 5th inning. In case you joined us late, A.J. Burnett, the Yankee starter, pitched into the 3rd, was taken out of the game, and we'll hear from Yankees manager Joe Girardi in just a moment. Matt Joyce will lead off for the Rays. Here in the 5th, Joyce 1 for 2, singled his last time up. He was the first batter that Mosley faced back in the 3rd inning. Rays did not score a run in the 4th. They had a couple of base runners. A 33-pitch inning for Mosley did not allow a run. Rays with 1 in the 1st, 2 in the 2nd, and a run in the 3rd. Carlos Pena with 2 RBIs, and Reed Brignac with a 2-run homer back in the 2nd inning. Yankees scored their 2 runs on a Brett Gardner 2-run single in the 2nd.
Dustin Mosley, you think after spending all those years in the minor leagues, he's concerned with the pitch count? It's refreshing.
Happy to be up with the big club.
That's right.
2-2 on Joyce, with John Jaso waiting on deck. Leadoff walk issued to Joyce. We spoke moments ago with Yankees manager Joe Girardi, and we asked him what happened to A.J. Burnett when he was pulled back in the 3rd.
Well, he had a couple lacerations on his hand, so I just didn't feel like he could control the baseball in the 3rd inning, and that's why we went to Dustin.
Is there anything you can tell us about how he did that, Joe?
I'm not exactly sure. I need to get to the bottom of it myself before I can announce how he did it, so I'm not exactly sure.
Joe, it's been such an emotional couple of days now, and talk about the emotions in the dugout last night during the bottom of the 9th inning.
Well, there were a lot of emotions, and you just felt like we had 2 great men looking over us during that game. We managed to come back twice, and then we were able to put it away in the 9th inning. But you think of the boss and what he meant to everyone here and all of our lives, and Bob Shepard, the great PA announcer. I mean, it was really strange not to have a PA announcer during the course of the game. And it just felt like we had 2 great Yankees looking over us.
How did you enjoy the Old Timers festivities today?
It was great. I was a little concerned about the heat for some of them, and obviously we missed Yogi Berra. He's doing okay. I talked to him this morning, but he'll be back out soon, I'm sure.
The one good thing, Joe, you didn't have to don the equipment today.
No. Last year I did, and I just said, it's too difficult, and it was too hot, and I just said, I'm not going to do it this year.
I cannot imagine.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, guys.
Joe was introduced with the Old Timers about 2 hours prior to the start of this game. John Jaso with a single to right field, so the Rays with runners on the corners. Joyce on 3rd. Jaso over at 1st as B.J. Upton bunts foul.
That's a safety squeeze right there. But delayed by Joyce on 3rd base, and with nobody out, that is very unusual. Particularly with a guy at the plate that you're going to have a tough time doubling. Watch the runner at 3rd base. He's going to make sure he gets it down and then commit. That's the difference between a safety squeeze and a suicide squeeze. The suicide squeeze is you leave the minute the ball leaves the pitcher's hand.
Upton again looking to lay down the bunt.
And again, a safety squeeze. 2 in a row. I have never seen that. 2 safety squeezes in a row. He's trying to bunt it toward first base. Teixeira has to hold the runner on, so that prevents him from charging in a hurry. I have never seen 2 safety squeezes in a row. Attempts, that is.
Upton swinging away on the 0-2 pitch. Swisher under it and right. Joyce tags, and he will score. Sacrifice fly, RBI number 31 for B.J. Upton, and the Rays now lead the Yankees 5-2. How about this quote earlier this week from Joe Madden? I think some teams play pretty much by the book. Others, like himself, are willing to pick up another book. For the most part, I think we are somewhat unique in what we're willing to try new things. Everything we try, it's not a hunch. It's not seat of the pants. It's pretty much well thought out in advance.
As an example of that, you know, when he talks about base running, he talks in series of twos. And I'll tell you what that means, because it's the first time I'd ever read it this spring. He speaks of hitters going from home to second, first to third, second to home. He doesn't think that speaking in terms of running one base at a time is the appropriate way of thinking about running the bases. I had never heard it put the way Joe put it, but it makes so much sense. And because doubles are started at home plate by running hard out of the box. Obviously, stolen bases from first base are going from first to third. You have to start quickly from first base to get to third, like Scott Rowland did in the All-Star game. A very key play with one out, doing it against Torrey Hunter, too.
Joe spent 31 years in the Angels system.
Right.
And so much of his thinking comes from what he learned working for the Angels organization as Bartlett singles to right. Moving to second is Jaso. So the Rays with 2 on, 1 out for Reed Brignac.
As an example, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim last year went from first to third more than any other team, 119 times. And Tampa Bay, you mentioned earlier, leads the major leagues in stolen bases. And they are a team that runs bases by the twos.
Joe Madden, longtime coach in the Angels system. Coach under Mike Scioscia when the Angels won the World Series back in 2002. He was interim manager 3 times with the Angels.
Right.
The left-hander Boone Logan called up today by the Yankees, up and throwing in the pen. Rays have had 14 base runners in 4 1/3 innings. 2 on, 1 out. Here's Brignac, who is 2 for 2 back in the second inning. He took A.J. Burnett deep. His 3rd home run of the season. And gave the Rays a 3-0 lead. He singled off Mosley in the 4th. Well hit, deep right field. Swisher looking up. No doubt about it. 2nd home run of the game for Brignac, who came in with 2 all season in 66 games. It's a 3-run shot. And the Rays extend their lead.
What a day for the rookie, Reed Brignac. 3 for 3, including 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 2 runs scored. That's a good week for guys. He's done it in 3 at-bats. Like a down and in fastball launched.
First career 2 home run game for Brignac. Brignac now with 5 major league home runs, 2 in 5 innings today. And remember, he might not have been in the starting lineup had Sean Rodriguez not arrived in New York as late as he did last night.
That's right.
Following the flooding in his apartment down in the Tampa area, caused by the fire alarm sprinkler during the All-Star break. Rodriguez received permission to arrive late last night. He was supposed to be in the starting lineup last night. Brignac getting the start at second again today, and he has had a career game.
Reed Brignac, we are told, had 3 home runs in a minor league game. He also had 2 years where he hit 1 year over 20 home runs. He had 24, 2 classifications in 2006 and 17 in 2007. So he has some unexpected power.
Zobrist flies out to Granderson in center. And for more on Reed Brignac, we head down to Ken Rosenthal. There's nobody in this game that he doesn't have some kind of a note about. Ken?
Kenny, talking to Joe Madden before the game, he made a point of the contributions that Brignac, Sean Rodriguez, and Jaso have made this year. And they've been critical for the Rays because some of their bigger guys, Pena, Upton, Jason Bartlett, have struggled. Any good contender gets contributions from unexpected sources. And the Rays have another one as well in their bullpen, Joaquin Benoit.
And to go along with what you just said, Ken, Deanna Navarro was an all-star a couple of years ago, and he was sent down this year to make room for Jaso. Actually, when Kelly Shoppa came back off the disabled list.
Navarro originally came up with the Yankees, played in the All-Star game across the street.
Yeah, yeah.
Previous Yankee
Futures
Stadium.
game.
Yeah, 2008.
Oh, 2008. No, the regular. That's
regular
right.
All-Star
That's
game.
exactly right.
And he's now in the minor leagues.
That's right. Yeah.
Rays now lead at 8-2. Carl Crawford has not reached base today. He's 0 for 3. He's the only Rays starter who has not reached base.
Yeah, there aren't too many games where the Rays score 8 runs the first 5 innings, and Carl Crawford does not contribute in a big way. Joaquin Benoit is now up and throwing. Remember, he gave up the 2 home runs in last night's game. Or 1 home run to Posada.
Crawford strikes out, but the Rays extend their lead. Reed Brignac with a pair of 2-run home runs in the second and then again in the fifth. Bell, think outside the bunt. Bottom of the fifth inning, Rays lead the Yankees 8-2. Tampa Bay scoring 4 in the top of the fifth inning. Reed Brignac, the number 9 hitter, with his second 2-run home run of this game. And now Nick Swisher will lead things off for the Yankees against Jeff Neiman. Swisher 0 for 2. He has grounded out twice. Was there any player, Tim, that had more fun during the 2 days in Anaheim earlier this week than Nick Swisher?
No. And that fun continued last night in the 9th inning as he had the game-winning walk-off home run, or I beg your pardon, walk-off single.
So thrilled that he was added to the American League roster during the final vote, the internet balloting by the fans. Derek Jeter and some of his teammates tried to pull a prank on him on Monday in Anaheim. They told Nick that he was supposed to wear his full uniform to the interview session in the hotel ballroom on Monday morning. He believed him for a while. Swisher grounds out for the third time. Knowing Nick, had he worn his uniform to that interview session, would have still been all smiles, even with everybody else in street clothes.
I'll tell you, Kevin Long, the hitting instructor, has had a lot to do with his success this year. Keeping his head still, trying to hit the ball up the middle, using all parts of the field in which to hit. And you talk to Kevin, and Kevin gives you the idea that he's as proud of Nick Swisher as he is of anybody he's ever had. And he's had a few, and has helped a lot.
Joe Girardi told us earlier, New York and Nick Swisher have been great for each other during his 2 seasons with the Yankees. He said Nick does so much for the team. Every time you look up on the video board, he's involved in some kind of a promotional announcement. And he also called him, Joe Girardi called him One Take Nick.
One Take Nick, because it doesn't take more than one take for him to get it down.
Ken Rosenthal, I know that you are aware of how much fun Nick had in Anaheim this week as an All-Star for the first time.
He had fun while he was there, and he had fun getting there. To win the final man vote, he rallied his 1.2 million followers on Twitter. He shot a video, and he told me at that interview session, let's be honest about it. My personality in a situation like that, it just matches up.
Tim, I know you were one of Nick's followers on Twitter. Is that correct?
I am not a tweeter.
Not a tweeter, huh?
Or a Twitterer, or whatever they call it.
One of these days. One of these years.
No, nope. Not involved.
Just think how many followers you would have.
Nah.
1-2 on Teixeira with the Rays employing the shift. Teixeira 0 for 1 with a walk today. Pulled foul to the right side. Nick Swisher now in rare company along with his dad Steve. Father-son all-star tandem. Steve on the National League roster in 1976, although he did not play in the game. Teixeira, deep right field. It is out of here. His 18th home run of the season. The Rays lead is now 8-3.
Talk about a home run swing with a drop of the back shoulder. Boy, I mean, you got to lift. You got to have lift along with power. And that's what Mark Teixeira has. He's had a tough go of it so far, but home run number 18. And that's all the Yankees need as far as the American League is concerned, is to have Teixeira heat up. But that was a typical home run swing. Drop the left shoulder. Uppercut swing, home run number 18.
Breaks the tie with Cano for the team lead. Robinson Cano with 17 home runs. Alex Rodriguez with 14 this year, 597 in his career. One of 3 players in history to hit at least 100 home runs for 3 different teams. Two of the three are in the stadium today. A-Rod and Reggie. 1 and 2. Rodriguez down on strike. 6th strikeout for Jeff Neiman.
You know, hitting coaches preach hitting the ball up the middle. For the biggest reason is there's more room up the middle going from there to there than there is between the second baseman and the first baseman and the shortstop and the third baseman. So from a practical standpoint, when you're at a ball game and you look at the middle, now look at the middle right now, Kenny, as an example. It's huge. I mean, you could drive a fleet of trucks there. That's why guys preach hitting the ball up the middle. Not only is your shoulder in the right position, but you have more room through which to hit.
And Cano does not hit it up the middle. He grounds out to the second baseman and today's hero, Reed Brignac. Teixeira goes deep. It's now 8-3 Rays. And the signal is yours. Real Dish to transmit anything you want. Verizon. And by Chevrolet. Every model is backed by a 100,000-mile, 5-year powertrain limited warranty. Tim, our Verizon game summary. Reed Brignac, 3 for 3. Couple of home runs. His first career 2-home-run game. And A.J. Burnett lasting into the third. Joe Girardi told us he had some lacerations on his hand, and there is 27-year-old right-hander Chad Godin, a former Tampa Bay Devil Ray, as they were known when he broke in back in 2003. Evan Longoria has reached base twice. He scored 2 runs.
Kenny, you mentioned earlier about it was A.J. Burnett who delivered the pie to the face last night with Nick Swisher. Now, I know this sounds strange, but that pie plate could be jagged. It could have a jagged edge to it, aluminum. And if it could have something to do with the pie in the face. I don't know. Otherwise, how does a pitcher get lacerations on his hands?
It looked like there was some kind of a towel in between his hand and whatever the pie was in. So there was a towel in between.
Yeah.
But we don't know exactly what was on the other side of that towel.
Right. Things that can cut can go through towels, too.
And
this was last night.
Of course, we're only speculating.
Yeah.
Joe Girardi mentioned the lacerations.
Yeah.
Did not look like there was any kind of a tray. It looked like the pie was on the other side of the towel.
Right.
But you never know. Payoff pitch to Longoria. And he has his second hit of the game. Retrieved in the corner by Gardner. Longoria in its second with a stand-up double.
Well, we talked earlier about how quick Evan Longoria is inside, and American League pitchers know that. He is lightning fast on that inside fastball and proves it once again. Oh, what quick hands he has.
So the leadoff man is on for the Rays for the fourth consecutive inning. Here's Carlos Pena. Pena's driven in a couple of runs. RBI double in the first. Run scoring single in the third. Right back to the box off the glove of Gaudin. And Pena is safe at first. Rays have runners on the corners.
I remember Joe Madden telling us before the game that we've got to get Pena going. Well, this is his third hit of the day. Couple of RBIs. He doubled in the first, doubling in Longoria, then singled in Longoria in the third inning, and now a single here in the sixth. Two hits up the middle.
So with first and third and nobody out, here's Matt Joyce, who has reached base twice. Gaudin missing inside with the fastball, ball one. Reed Brignac has driven in 5 of the 8 Tampa Bay runs. Carlos Pena with a pair of RBIs. And B.J. Upton with a sacrifice fly. 1-1 now on Joyce. John Jaso waiting on deck. Top of the 6th inning from Yankee Stadium. Rays 8 and the Yankees 3. Now 2-1. Game to look at the patches, honoring the lives of longtime Yankee owner George Steinbrenner and public address announcer here at Yankee Stadium from 1951 through 2007. Bob Shepard, his widow Mary on hand during the Old Timers Day festivities. Received a warm ovation from the crowd when she was introduced. George Steinbrenner's funeral took place earlier today, a private ceremony down in the Tampa area. Joyce draws his second walk, and the bases are loaded here in the top of the 6th inning.
Nobody turned a franchise around any quicker than George Steinbrenner did. After buying the team for $8.7 million in 1973, they were in the World Series 3 years later. And everybody thought free agency will be the death knell of baseball. And as Marvin Miller has said through the years, Marvin, 95 years old now, your income will treble. Well, it's done more than that since the 70s to the present day. It's a $7 billion a year industry, and nobody took advantage of the industry of baseball any more than George Steinbrenner.
Yankees won 11 American League pennants, 7 World Series titles during his ownership. Jaso, deep left center. Catch is made by the left fielder Gardner. Longoria tags and scores. Pena moves to third. Sacrifice fly. RBI number 30 for Jaso, and the Rays now lead 9-3. And For another DirecTV game break, here's Chris.
All right, Kenny, two great defensive plays in one swing in St. Louis. Casey Blake rips one, but Felipe Lopez gets down and dirty. And then look at the stretch by King Albert at first. Then it's Skip Schumacher, driving in the lone run of the game. That's the diving James Loney. It's 1-0 in the 7th. Back upstairs to the Hardy Boys, who are trying to solve the great pie tray mystery.
King Albert, I like the sound of that.
King Albert and the Hardy Boys, I like that.
Upton pops out to the second baseman Cano for out number 2. You know, over the last couple of days, we all read so many quotes from players on other teams. Dustin Pedroia, for example, when asked about George Steinbrenner, quote, "He's one of the reasons that everyone's making a lot of money. He changed the game, and I think everyone is grateful for that."
Like Tiger did in golf. I never thought of it like that. I didn't read that by Pedroia. There was certainly some truth to that.
Bartlett, center field, Granderson. Middle of the 6th. The Rays lead is now 9-3 as we take a look at one of the memorials outside the house that George built. Taco Bell, think outside the bun. Bottom of the 6th inning here at Yankee Stadium with the Rays on top 9-3. Jorge Posada leading off against Jeff Neiman, looking for his 8th win of the season. Rays are 14-4 in Neiman's 18 starts this year. A.J. Burnett, the Yankee starting pitcher, taken out of the game in the 3rd inning. We just received a visit from Kim Jones, who does a terrific job on the Yes Network. And she was told by Brian Cashman that apparently Burnett tripped while running up steps, scraped his hands trying to brace his fall. So that is what Brian Cashman told Tim.
Where the
Kim
lacerations occurred.
And Joe Girardi told us that A.J. had lacerations on his hands, and Joe did not know how he got them. Now, we assume that means he tripped running upstairs somewhere in the stadium during the game, but we do not know for sure.
So kudos to Kim Jones, who played the role of Nancy Drew, guys.
Yes.
to the Hardy Boys, right, Chris?
You got it.
Boy, Chris all of a sudden just appeared from nowhere in our headsets.
Sound like Bob Shepard. Sound like the voice of God, right?
Where are you, Chris? Out in center field. Here's Posada. He sends one to deep right field. And there's no question about this one. Second home run in 2 innings hit by the Yankee, and the Rays lead is now 9-4. Home run 11 for Jorge Posada, his second in as many games.
The Yankees are such a dangerous team in this ballpark, in any park, but particularly with that inviting right field porch. Their left-handed hitters can reach it easily. All of them. Home run number 254 for Jorge Posada.
Not Posado.
No. That was hit more like Sadaharo.
Yes. The all-time home run king in Japan.
Right. All-time home run king in the world.
That's right. Over 800.
Yes. I think close to 860. But, you know, we talked about the core four about 3 weeks ago. Mariano Rivera, Derek Jeter, they're locks for the Hall of Fame. Probably Andy Pettitte. 103 games over 500, and nobody over 100 games. 100 games over 500. That's not in the Hall of Fame. And you could really make a case for Jorge Posada. 16 years with at least one game played for the same team. That's second to Johnny Bench of the Reds, who did it 17 years.
Granderson grounds out to the first baseman Pena for out number one.
The thing about those who vote for the Hall of Fame is that they often try to compare the numbers that a catcher puts up with the numbers that an outfielder or an infielder puts up. But you just can't compare the two. You can't compare a catcher to anybody because they're never going to have the offensive numbers that the other positions have, ever. May lead a league in RBIs like Johnny Bench did twice.
I think you and I would both agree that there'll be a place in Cooperstown for George Steinbrenner one day.
No question about that. Absolutely. No doubt about that. That's easy.
One of my favorite anecdotes about George Steinbrenner that I read this week, a quote from Baseball Commissioner Bud Selig. In a telephone conversation with Steinbrenner, Selig jokingly complained that his wife told him he had to take out the garbage every Tuesday, even though he was commissioner of baseball. For the next 3 months, George Steinbrenner would call Bud Selig every Tuesday morning to make sure he took out the garbage. And apparently he did. Never missed a Tuesday.
Well, I suppose someone has to do it. I would doubt seriously that George made many trips to the garbage bin. Some of the funniest stories about George Steinbrenner that I've ever heard came from Lou Piniella in the early 70s when Lou had a landscaping company that and one of his clients, in fact his best client, was George Steinbrenner. And in those days, the big money wasn't there, and guys had to work during the off season. And some of Lou Piniella's business stories are classic, but the ones involving George Steinbrenner are book material.
And of course, Lou grew up in Tampa.
Right. Serviced George's house in Tampa.
Maybe Lou took out his garbage. Cervelli, deep right field, and the catch is made on the warning track by Zobrist.
Maybe that was part of it. Lou, I remember one story about Lou putting this particular type of shrub in George's front yard. And George kept calling him and complaining, and he'd take the shrub out, put it back in. George kept complaining, take it out, put it back in. He kept complaining, and this happened like 6 times during the winter, and Lou never got it right. And finally, George made some complaint about, we'll see about it. If you ever become a Yankee, if you can't fix my yard, how are you gonna be a good hitter in the big leagues? That type stuff. Hilarious.
From one Gardner to another, Brett Gardner at the plate. Off the fists. Longoria in foul territory. 6 innings in the books. We'll return to Yankee Stadium after a word from your local Fox station. Of the 7th inning here in the Bronx, with the Rays leading the Yankees 9-4 as Reed Brignac steps in to face Chad Gaudin. Brignac 3 for 3, 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in. A career day here at Yankee Stadium for the 24-year-old who was drafted by the Rays in the 2nd round back in 2004 out of Louisiana Lafayette. Played in 31 games for the Rays last season. Came into the game with 3 career home runs. Took A.J. Burnett deep in the 2nd. And Dustin Mosley deep in the 5th inning. 0-2 from Gaudin, and the Yankees finally figure out a way to retire Reed Brignac. Ever wish more people would go to bat for you and the things you care about? Log on to statefarm.com/go-to-bat. And let State Farm help you go to bat for the charity of your choice. One away, here's Ben Zobrist. Zobrist reached on an error back in the 2nd inning, walked in the 4th. Rays lead the Yankees 9-4 after the Yankees won last night's game in walk-off fashion, 5-4 on a Nick Swisher game-winning hit in the bottom of the 9th inning. 3rd walk-off win for the Yankees this season. Marcus Timms had the first 2 walk-off hits for the Yankees. Zobrist with a base hit into center field. Zobrist on base for the third time today. As we begin the second half of this season, it has been the year of the pitcher in the major leagues. 4 no-hitters, including 2 perfect games. The Rays on the receiving end of 2 of those no-hitters.
That's at the break. And right now, the St. Louis Cardinals leading the Los Angeles Dodgers, bottom of the 7th, 1-0. The Mets lost again last night, 1-0. 2 shutouts against the Giants, losing on Thursday night, 3-0.
First Tim Lincecum, then Barry Zito.
Yeah.
Carl Crawford 0 for 4.
So this is certainly an atypical game for 2010. A 9-4 game in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Crawford left field. Brett Gardner is under it for out number 2. The Rays went 27 up, 27 down back on Mother's Day in Oakland. Dallas Braden with the perfect game against Tampa Bay. And then they were no-hit by Edwin Jackson, who walked 8 in a game against the Arizona Diamondbacks last month. CC Sabathia no-hit the Rays for 7 2/3 innings in a game on Fox earlier this season.
Our first Saturday game this year.
Joe Madden and the Rays have been on the losing end of 3 of the last 5 no-hitters in baseball,
including 2 perfect games.
Mark Burley last July 23rd in Chicago. Braden, a perfect game this year, and then the Edwin Jackson no-hitter. The only team to get no-hit twice and make it to the postseason, the 1917 White Sox. But the Rays, despite getting no-hit twice, with the second best record in all of baseball, trailing only the New York Yankees. Longoria strikes out. 7th inning stretch time with the Rays leading the Yankees by 5. everything together. By New Gillette Odor Shield Anti-Perspirant. Help eliminate odor. Don't just cover it up. And by State Farm with 17,000 agents, we've got the best lineup in the game. Rays lead the Yankees 9-4, middle of the 7th inning. Earlier today, the 64th Old Timers Day here at Yankee Stadium. Over 40 former Yankee players and coaches on hand. They all received terrific ovations from the crowd. Took part in a 2-inning game. Yankees honored the 1950 World Series champion Yankees. And moments ago during the 7th inning stretch, fans were treated to a video of Bob Shepard singing Let Me Call You Sweetheart, which was a Mother's Day tradition here at Yankee Stadium.
Let me hear you whisper as you love me too. Magnificent.
And how appropriate that Derek Jeter will lead off for the Yankees, introduced by Bob Shepard here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Derek Jeter quoted earlier this week, Tim, Bob Shepard is as much a part of this organization as any player.
And the heartfelt sentiments coming from the Yankee captain.
Bob Shepard, a former quarterback at St. John's University, a Navy officer during World War II, chairman of the speech department at John Adams High School in Queens, an adjunct professor of speech at St. John's University, and an institution as the public address announcer for not only the Yankees, but the football giants as well. Jeff Neiman and the Rays leading the Yankees 9-4. Derek Jeter is 0 for 3. Derek Jeter now 1 for 4 as he singles up the middle.
Prior to that at bat, Derek only 2 for his last 23. Well, the Yankees could dig in the Rays bullpen if they could get a couple of guys on with nobody out and flirt with a big inning.
Joaquin Benoit up in the Rays pen. Pitching coach Jim Hickey out for a chat with Jeff Neiman. And Tim, Bob Shepard took part in a book project back in 2007. The book is titled Being There. 100 sports figures reminisced about the top 5 events they witnessed. And during Bob Shepard's illustrious career, he listed as number 1 the Don Larson perfect game in the 1956 World Series. Don Larson is here today. Number 2, a football game back in December of '58 when Pat Summerall kicked a field goal in the snow, 49-yarder to beat Cleveland. Roger Maris's 61st home run in '61 was number 3. The Chris Chambliss home run in '76, number 4. Chris is here today. Reggie Jackson also in the stadium today. His 3-home run game in the 1977 World Series Game 6, number 5. Bob Shepard's 5 biggest memories during his career at Yankee Stadium. Nick Swisher with a Yankee memory last night, after the Yankees honored the memories of George Steinbrenner and Bob Shepard prior to the game last night. Moving ceremony. Mariano Rivera placed 2 roses on home plate. Derek Jeter made a wonderful speech representing the Yankee organization. And then Nick Swisher with the walk-off hit in the bottom of the 9th inning. Many Yankee fans made the correlation between the rally last night and the game back on August 6, 1979, when the entire Yankee team returned from the funeral of their captain Thurman Munson. Bobby Mercer, who was so close to Thurman and the Munson family.
Same scores.
Yeah, Mercer with the game-winning hit.
Right.
2-run walk-off in the bottom of the ninth to defeat the Orioles 5-4. Back on August 6, 1979, same final score as last night.
Bobby with a 3-run
home run in the 7th.
Home run in the 7th.
Nick Swisher with a home run in the 8th last night. And
right.
Bobby Mercer and Nick Swisher with the walk-off hits. And Bobby's widow Kay here in the stadium today took part in the All-Timers festivities as well, along with Diana Munson. Derek Jeter referred to the bottom of the ninth last night as another one of those special moments at Yankee Stadium. 3-1 to Swisher. Left field, Crawford back. And he makes the catch on the edge of the track for out number 1. Home run of the season for Swisher. And at the bottom of the ninth, Ernest Granderson scores the game-winning run. Yankees 5 and the Rays 4. Well, that will be all for Jeff Neiman. Pitches into the 7th in search of his 8th win of this 2010 season. Waugh comes out of the bullpen in relief of Rays starter Jeff Neiman with the runner on first. Derek Jeter, 1 out. Bottom of the 7th inning. 5-run lead for the Rays, and Mark Teixeira steps in with a solo home run in the 5th inning off Neiman his last time up. Benoit allowed a home run to the first batter he faced last night in the 8th inning. That was Nick Swisher.
That was the game tire, right? In fact, he's given up only 3 runs all year. All have been solo home runs.
No 1-2 to Sharon. Now 0-2 with Alex Rodriguez waiting on deck.
Major league hitters are 11 for 93 against Benoit this year. That is a 118 average, and it's tops among major league relievers.
Benoit did not pitch last season following rotator cuff surgery. Spent 14 years in the Texas Rangers organization. 0-2. Teixeira gets the bat on it with the Rays once again employing the shift. Only one infielder on the left side of the infield. There's Neiman, who went 6 1/3. The Rays have not lost a road game this year that Neiman has started. They are 8-0. And Neiman starts away from home. Two from Benoit. Teixeira fouls it back. Next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, Mets and Dodgers, Sox and A's, Rockies at the Phillies. Check local listings for the game in your area next Saturday afternoon.
You may have noticed that Benoit has that unusual delivery. Right before he releases the ball, he kind of pats his glove one time. Good splitter right there to get to Teixeira. He didn't do it this time, so he may do it only on the fastballs.
Which will be a key to the hitters.
Maybe.
So a two-way. Here's Rodriguez. A-Rod 0 for 3 today. You mentioned earlier he was the only position player on the American League side who did not appear in the All-Star game on Tuesday night. Some folks may have been wondering why he did not pinch hit in the 9th inning for catcher John Buck. Well, there were no other catchers available. So had the game gone into extra innings, Joe Girardi would have been in a bit of a quandary.
Of course, you could bring back a catcher in the All-Star game. I thought the most ridiculous criticism of Joe Girardi was pinch running for David Ortiz, the lead up to a tie runner. Now, if he's the tying runner or the winning run, obviously you can make a case that he should have pinch run for him. But those that said that he should have pinch ran for David Ortiz were simply wrong. Not a clue.
Alex handled it well after the game, pointing out that he has played in so many other All-Star games.
Yeah, now Buck plops one in front of Marlon Byrd, so instead of giving Byrd credit, there were articles written criticizing Girardi for not pinch running for David Ortiz. Not one manager in baseball, I will guarantee you, not one manager in baseball would have pinch run for David Ortiz in that situation. Ever. Now, as it happens, Ortiz is forced at second base, and Joe's criticized. And in my view, it was just totally unwarranted.
Evan Longoria was the starting third baseman for the American League. Joe Girardi also used Adrian Beltre of the Red Sox. Ty Wigginton of the Orioles, although he did not bat, played the field.
Right.
So it's not easy to get 4 third basemen into an All-Star game.
Well, Joe said today before the game, we were talking about it, and Joe said, well, if Beltre gets on, say Beltre ended up striking out. If he walks, then you're going to pinch run for him. Then you could pinch run Wigginton and bring him back into the game because Beltre had the bad hamstring. And then pinch hit A-Rod if you so desire. I mean, any of those other things, I think, are reasonable. But to say that he should have pinch run for David Ortiz is just
Wigginton
not
was
right.
Wigginton was the utility player who was designated as the player who could come back in.
That's right.
Omar Infante on the National League side.
Right. And any catcher who had started could come back. Meanwhile, one swing of the bat, and the Yankees are right back in this tilt.
First and second, 2 outs with Robinson Cano at the plate. Cano 1 for 3, doubled and scored back in the second inning. From Benoit, fastball missing away, 1-1. Former Yankee Randy Choate up and throwing in the Rays pen.
Yeah, one of the key hits in last night's game in the 9th inning, the leadoff single by Curtis Granderson against a left-handed pitcher. Granderson with a woeful year against left-handers last year.
1-2 now on Cano. Boone Logan called up earlier today. Up in the Yankees pen. Jeter on at second. Rodriguez over at first. 2 outs, bottom of the 7th inning. One-two to Cano, and he pops it up. Foul territory. Catcher Jaso, will he have room? No.
That's a tough splitter thrown by Benoit, and Jaso runs out of room.
Jeter, Rodriguez. Rays with a 5-run lead. It's Brignac. Yankees strand 2 in the 7th. Bob Shepard, who passed away last Sunday, met by Reggie Jackson. And posing for a photo with all of the old timers who are on hand at the 64th Old Timers Day here at Yankee Stadium. And we've heard Bob's voice. We've seen his image on the video board throughout this game, as the Yankees continue to honor the memories of both George Steinbrenner and Bob Shepard during this weekend series against the Tampa Bay Rays, as Carlos Pena goes deep. His 19th home run of the year, third Rays home run of this game, and they now lead the Yankees 10-4.
You know, there's sometimes we have meetings with managers before the games, and nothing really is, you know, you find out a little bit about the team, the contemporary stuff and stuff like that. And it seems like Joe Maddon's material was golden today. Almost everything he talked about has transpired, particularly with Carlos Pena. He said, we need to get Pena going. Has he ever gone today? Whew.
And he's gone against the Yankees ever since he became a member of the Rays in 2007. He actually spent a good portion of the 2006 season in the Yankees system.
Look at that graphic.
Tampa Bay infielders, 3 home runs, 8 runs batted in. Carlos played for Columbus, the Yankees AAA team at the time. In 2006, he hit 19 home runs. He was signed by the Red Sox as a minor league free agent that August. Joined the Rays for the 2007 season. Did not make the club initially, and then was called back and told that he did in fact have a spot on the roster. And since joining the Rays in 2007, Pena has hit 18 home runs against the Yankees, more than any other player in baseball. Lance Cormier up in the Rays pen. He's hit 4 against the Yankees this year alone.
Carlos, a wonderful story. His parents left the Dominican Republic. They moved to the United States, the Boston area, wanting to educate their children in the United States.
Carlos attended Northeastern University in Boston. Last year, he finished tied for the American League lead with 39 home runs with Mark Teixeira, despite missing the last 25 games of the season. He was hit in the hand by a CC Sabathia pitch.
Right, 2 fingers.
Missed the last month. Matt Joyce down on strikes, 1 away.
He's so interesting to talk to also. I mean, he's a traveler. They kid him about going to, he's been to Disney World over 100 times. And last winter, he took a 6-week trip to Europe and went to Paris, London, Berlin, Istanbul. Many members of his family on that trip. He's a fascinating man. And talk about a lot of things.
Over 100 trips to Disney World.
Over 100 trips to Disney World. He loves Disney World. And it's not that far from Tampa.
No. John Jaso drove in a run his last time up with a sacrifice fly. Rays lead the Yankees 10-4 here in the top of the 8th inning. With the trade deadline coming up in just a couple of weeks, Ken Rosenthal, it means you won't be getting much sleep.
No, I won't be, Kenny. But these are 2 teams that could be quite active. You look at Tampa Bay. We talked about Carlos Pena, free agent at the end of the season. So is Carl Crawford. So is their closer, Rafael Soriano. So in some ways, this is a last hurrah for the Rays because their owner, Stuart Sternberg, already has talked about reducing payroll next season. So what do they need? Ideally, a big bat. An Adam Dunn, a Jason Worth, maybe a David DeJesus, more of a contact guy. And they will be aggressive and they will be active even with their limited payroll, because they know of this opportunity that awaits and because they also are very deep in prospects.
All right, thanks, Ken. Ken will be averaging about 2 hours sleep during the next 2 weeks. He will also wear out his text plan on his cell phone.
Well, I mean, what Ken says makes a lot of sense. Not only are they deep in their farm system, but you have, if they decide to trade either Brignac or Bartlett, then if Bartlett goes, you could put Brignac at shortstop. He's a natural shortstop. And if Brignac goes, obviously Bartlett is a very, very capable major league shortstop. So there are a lot of ways the Rays could go over the next couple of weeks. And obviously the Yankees too with their treasure chest.
Brignac's value has skyrocketed today. Upton, shallow left, Jeter backpedaling, Gardner coming on. And Gardner calls off Jeter to make the catch to retire the Rays. But not before the world traveler, Carlos Pena. It's his team-leading 19th of the year. But he might be thinking about the Magic Kingdom. Sears Blue Lawn and Garden Crew. By Ink, the new business card from Chase. Make your mark with Ink. And by DirecTV. Now all the TVs in your home can be connected to just one DVR. Bottom of the 8th inning here at Yankee Stadium with the Rays leading the Yankees 10-4. 29-year-old right-hander Lance Cormier, third pitcher of this game for Tampa Bay. Starter Jeff Newman went 6 1/3, allowed 4 runs on 6 hits. Joaquin Benoit pitched 2/3 of an inning. And now it's Cormier who allowed the game-winning hit to Swisher in the bottom of the 9th last night. Yankee starter A.J. Burnett left the game in the 3rd inning. Joe Girardi told us he was suffering from lacerations on his hand. We were told by Kim Jones, who covers the Yankees for the Yes Network, that she heard from General Manager Brian Cashman that Burnett tripped running upstairs, scraped his hands, bracing his fall. Burnett allowed 4 runs on 4 hits in 2+ innings. Jorge Posada, a home run his last time up. 5 home runs in this game. 2 for the Yankees, Teixeira and Posada. Brignac has gone deep twice, and Carlos Pena with a solo shot for the Rays. Rays with a victory today would pull back to within 2 games of the first place Yankees in the American League East. 2-2 to Posada, and he rips a base hit into right field. Second hit of the game for the Yankees designated hitter, as he greets Lance Cormier with a leadoff signal here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Here's Curtis Granderson, who scored the game-winning run last night. Granderson today is 0 for 2 with a walk, scored a run back in the second inning. Great job by our entire crew today in the Bronx. Our producer Pete Macheska, director Bill Webb, associate director Aaron Stoikov, broadcast associate Eric Mandia, statisticians Wayne Fiddleman and Marty Aronoff. Our technical producer is Sid Drexler, technical director Jonathan Evans. Pre-game show produced by Don Bowie. Senior videotape producer is Janice Casazza. The coordinating studio producer of Fox Sports is Scott Ackerson. The senior VP of production is Jack Simmons. 1-1 to Granderson. Cormier missing high and away, now 2-1. And a special thanks to the folks at the S Network for providing footage of the 64th Old Timers Day here at Yankee Stadium. 2-1 to Granderson. Left center. Crawford. 1 out.
Yeah, the guy who the Rays have really missed this year, J.P. Howe, left-hander who was so serviceable. Last year, I remember the game we did, Kenny, the day before, we were there on that Friday night, and we saw J.P. Howe coming out and pitching, and speculation was then that perhaps he could return in the next 2 or 3 weeks, which would have meant about the first week in June, but that was not to be. He has not pitched for them. And they have really missed him. He is a workhorse.
They certainly have missed Howell. Rays do lead the American League in earned run average. They are the only team in baseball that has used only 5 starting pitchers. Their closer, Soriano, an all-star, has 23 saves. David Price started the All-Star game. Terrific young staff. Matt Garza with 10 wins.
Jeff Neiman, you mentioned, 14-4 when he starts a game are the Rays.
Four-pitch walk issue to Cervelli. So the Yankees with runners on first and second and only 1 out. Jim Hickey out for a visit with Lance Cormier, who's headed downstairs once again. Ken Rosenthal, your thoughts on what the Yankees may do leading up to the trade deadline?
Well, Kenny, as we saw with the Cliff Lee pursuit, the Yankees are forever big game hunting. And 2 guys that they would love to have but are probably unattainable. Adam Dunn of the Nationals and Royals closer Joaquin Soria, who could be their setup man and then the eventual replacement for Mariano Rivera. Probably wishful thinking on both. But there are some pieces that the Yankees could and will look to add. In the outfield, perhaps someone like Cody Ross, right-handed hitter who can fit well. Jose Bautista from the Blue Jays can play the infield and the outfield. One thing they need as well is some protection for A-Rod if those groin hip issues act up again.
Thanks, Ken. Brett Gardner steps to the plate with 2 on, 1 out. Yankees also close to acquiring Cliff Lee just prior to the All-Star break.
Cliff Lee going to Texas. He has started 1 game. That was last Saturday in Texas. It was a complete game, but he lost 6-1. Boy, is that Texas a dangerous club now.
Especially with that triples machine, Benji Molina, who hit for the cycle last night.
Texas beating Boston the last couple of nights. They won on Thursday and then won again last night.
Molina's triple, his 6th in 4,668 career at-bats. Completed the cycle with that triple in the 8th inning. CC Sabathia and Cliff Lee were teammates in Cleveland. And reportedly, their wives were already talking about potential places for the Lee family to live here in the New York area. But Cliff wound up on his 4th team in less than 12 months.
One of those teams, the Philadelphia Phillies, and the ageless Jamie Moyer, Cliff Lee, renting his home out in
bounce to Longoria. And the Rays unable to turn to as Gardner is safe at first.
Yeah, no chance to get Brett Gardner. He's too fast on any kind of high chopper, and that's why Longoria takes the sure out at second base.
Jamie Moyer and his wife Karen with 8 children. So
no, it was a big home.
A big home in Seattle. Right. Rented out to Cliff Lee, who no longer needs it.
No.
That will be all for Lance Cormier. Here comes Grant Balfour for the Rays. For the Rays last night. We'll try and close out this 8th inning for Tampa Bay with runners on the corners and 2 outs. Time now for another DirecTV game break with Chris Rose. Chris.
All right, guys, we showed you the great defensive play by Albert Pujols earlier. How about this one off the bat of Garrett Anderson? I'll take that, thank you. Over to Kyle McClellan covering, and then Ryan Franklin on to preserve the 2-0 lead in the 9th. That's going to do it. Cards win the first 3 games of this 4-game set. 2-0 the final. They are now tied with the Cincinnati Reds atop the NL Central. Kenny and Tim.
And Chris, win number 14 for Adam Wainwright. He is now 14-5. Here's Derek Jeter with 2 on, 2 out. Posada takes his lead off third. Gardner over at first.
And with that win, the Cardinals over the Dodgers now 4 games back in the National League West in 4th place.
Wow. And there you see the Cardinals, who have moved into a first-place tie with the Reds in the National League Central. Dodgers will be on Fox next Saturday as they host the Mets.
Mets game will start in about an hour in San Francisco. New York once again shut out. Games 1 and 2 against the Giants. Lincecum and Zito. 3-0, 1-0.
Derek Jeter said earlier this week, on the road to George Steinbrenner, there were 2 teams we could not lose to, whether in spring training or the regular season, the Mets or the Tampa Bay Rays.
Right. The Mets for obvious reasons. Bragging rights in New York City. Tampa Bay, the hometown of, or the adopted hometown of George Steinbrenner.
And Derek Jeter, who lives there in the offseason.
Yeah.
Of course, George never wanted to lose to the Red Sox either.
In fact, the Red Sox had a terrific tribute the other night. Ownership of the Red Sox showing also a very, very classy tribute to George Steinbrenner before their game against the Rangers.
With Carl Bean, the public address announcer at Fenway Park, at the mic. Red Sox held a moment of silence for both George Steinbrenner and Bob Shepard. I also read a story. Reggie Jackson said during his days with the Yankees, he was startled one game when he stepped up to the plate at Fenway and heard Bob Shepard's voice introducing him over the PA. Bob was in Boston, and the Red Sox asked him if he would like to announce for 1 inning. Reggie thought he was hearing things. He was. It was really Bob Shepard. Derek Jeter named captain by George Steinbrenner in 2003 during a series in Cincinnati. And Derek, along with Joe Girardi, presented George with his 2009 World Series ring in his office prior to the home opener. This past April, it's a race to first. And Jeter is out. Beaten to the bag, and that will end the inning.
How about that play by Breniak? And he was out. Great play by Breniak.
So through 8 here at Yankee Stadium, it's the Rays 10 and the Yankees 4. Jason Bartlett leading off for the Rays here in the top of the ninth inning against Chad Gaudin, with the Rays leading the Yankees 10-4. Bartlett has scored 2 runs in this game, both ahead of Reed Brignac, who has hit 2 home runs, a 2-run shot in the second, a 3-run homer in the 5th. Brignac also made a terrific defensive play to end the bottom of the 8th inning.
A lot could have happened on Chano Park warming up, but a lot could have happened on that play at first base. Derek Jeter sliding to prevent the collision with Reed Brignac, and Reed Brignac cheating enough toward the hole to where he'd be able to make the play unassisted at first base on Jeter. The 2 strikes. Derek Jeter loves that hole between first and second. Pena couldn't get to it. Brignac made the play, and it was a very interesting baseball maneuver with 2 strikes. Jeter, as he does, the only guy who has a chance to make the play is Brignac. Pitcher late in covering. Jeter, on the other hand, realizing this could be a serious collision, slides, and Brignac beat him by about a step.
How often do you see a 4 unassisted on the score sheet?
No, not too often.
Brignac 3 for 4, 2 home runs. He's driven in 5. Behind the count, 0-2. Andy Sonnenstein up in the Rays pen. The 0-2 from Gaudin, and Brignac strikes out for the second time. We head to Chris Rose for another DirecTV game break. Chris?
All right, guys, Rangers and Red Sox in Boston. This is All-Star on All-Star Prime. Big Poppy up at Cliff Lee making his second start for the Rangers. Red Sox lead it 1-0 in the second. Of note, guys, Terry Francona did not pinch run for David Ortiz after that. Back on up to you.
So that makes 2 of them.
Yeah, right.
All-stars everywhere. David Ortiz, Cliff Lee, 8 Yankees, 4 Rays. Then Zobrist flies out to Brett Gardner and left. We head to the bottom of the 9th. Rays lead by 6. Think outside the body. Bottom of the ninth inning here at Yankee Stadium. Fifth pitcher of this game for the Rays, Andy Sonnenstein, making his 29th appearance. The starter, Jeff Neiman, went 6 1/3 in line for his 8th win of the season. Yankee starter A.J. Burnett pulled in the third due to lacerations on his hand. Rays scored a run in the first, 2 in the second, 1 in the third, 4 in the fifth, another run in the sixth, another run in the eighth. And they lead the Yankees 10-4. 5 home runs in the game, 2 for Rays second baseman Reed Brignac, Mark Teixeira, and Jorge Posada with home runs for the Yankees. A little different situation for Nick Swisher in the bottom of the ninth inning than last night.
Yeah, and a little bit different situation for Andy Sonnenstein than it has been in past years. He has been a starter. This is his 29th relief appearance this year, and this spring it was between Wade Davis, their 5th starter, and Andy Sonnenstein. Wade Davis won out. Davis is one of the 5 terrific starters for Tampa Bay, and Sonnenstein has taken to the bullpen quite well.
Nick Swisher 0 for 4. Now 2-1 on Swisher with Mark Teixeira waiting on deck. Sonnenstein missing low and inside. Now 3-1. Swisher draws a leadoff walk here in the bottom of the ninth. With the Rays leading 10-4, here is our Coppertone Sports shining play of the game. Reed Brignac, the Rays second baseman, entered this game with 2 home runs on the season. Took A.J. Burnett deep in the second inning, a 2-run shot, and then a 3-run homer off Dustin Mosley in the 5th. 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in for Brignac. Swisher on at first. Here's Teixeira, who homered back in the 5th inning. Rays again employing the shift against Teixeira. Yeah, Tim, we've heard so many stories about good deeds from George Steinbrenner through the years that were never publicized, whether paying for somebody's college tuition or medical bills. And there are 2 folks whose lives have been touched by George Steinbrenner that I would like to mention before the conclusion of this game. As Teixeira sends one to deep right center. And the catch is made by Crawford for out number 1. Bill Steimers, otherwise known as Bill the Baker, has had a permanent seat in the Yankees press box for over 3 decades. There he is. There's Bill. A friend of George Steinbrenner back in the 1970s. And he was obviously touched by George Steinbrenner through the years and his kindness. And he's a fixture here at Yankee Stadium and across town at Citi Field, the Mets' new ballpark. And also Alex Garrett, an 18-year-old who's a freshman at Queens College, an aspiring sports broadcaster who was born with 1 leg and met George Steinbrenner outside Yankee Stadium. Quite a bond, and perhaps Alex will be sitting with you in the broadcast booth one day.
Or you?
I think he's a play-by-play guy, so I think he'd rather work with you. But we'll see. But just 2 of the folks whose lives were touched by George Steinbrenner during his 37 years as Yankees principal owner.
Those are nice stories, and they abound.
Another fixture, Louie, one of the photographers here at Yankee Stadium. Two 2-0 from Sonnenstein to Rodriguez. Sonnenstein missing away, now 3-0. Robinson Cano waiting on deck. Dick Swisher on second base. One out. Bottom of the ninth inning. Rays leading the Yankees 10-4. Rays have now scored at least 8 runs in a game 25 times this season in 90 games.
Also trying to win another game on the road. Best road record in baseball. 28-15 coming into this game.
Rays started the season 32-12. They had the best record in baseball for 63 days. And coming into play today, trail the Yankees, who have the best record in all of baseball by 3 games in the American League East. A-Rod with a drive, deep right center. And it bounces into the bullpen for a ground rule double. Swisher will score. RBI number 71 for Alex Rodriguez. It's now a 10-5 game.
Such tremendous strength on that ball out over the plate. You can see the center fielder, B.J. Upton, just helpless as that ball bounces over the fence. RBI number 71 for A-Rod.
So the Rays lead is now 10-5. Here's Robinson Cano. Doubled and scored back in the second. Cano is 1 for 4. Andy Pettit, an 11-game winner, up against 12-game winner David Price. And the series finale here tomorrow. Andy Pettit went 9 years between All-Star appearances. Last appeared in the All-Star game in 2001. Pitched an inning out of the bullpen on Tuesday night. Oh, 1 to Cano. Behind second, Bartlett. Nice play.
Fine play by Jason Bartlett. That's a big league play, particularly throwing out a guy who can run like Cano. All in one motion. Very nice.
So the Yankees now down to their final out as Jorge Posada steps to the plate. With a victory today, Tim, the Rays would have the same exact record, 55-35, as they did 2 years ago. Back in 2008, when they won the American League pennant, advanced to the World Series when they were beaten by the Phillies.
Beaten by the Phillies in 5. A great performance by young David Price against the Boston Red Sox in Game 7 of the ALCS that year. Dramatic game with Price coming in and David now in the starting rotation, an all-star. Started the all-star game and will face, as Kenny said, Andy Pettit tomorrow.
0-1 to Posada, right back to the box. That should do it. Sonnenstein to Pena. And the Rays win the second game of this series. 3 home runs for Tampa Bay. And Joe Madden's squad defeating the Yankees by the score of 10-5. A continuation of an emotional weekend here in the Bronx. We'll return to Yankee Stadium for post-game coverage right after these messages.